Well, okay now, Bill. Good morning. I'm Bob Zarkowitz. Medicare and You, next on Village in Motion. And today is Wednesday, September the 9th. Golly, where's the time going? I'm Bob Zarkowitz, your host, and gives me a lot of pleasure to introduce to you today Betsy Boyle on my left, and on her left is Nikki Holton, and finally on her left is Jeanette Velasquez. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
You did, very good.
Ladies, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
My first reaction when I was told I was going to be a host on this show is you ladies are involved in a tremendously important subject, Medicare. And it affects just about everybody. One of the things, Betsy, that I heard, maybe Jeanette, was that about 95% of our residents are under the Medicare umbrella. Shall we expand on that? Is that correct or no?
Well, the majority of our residents have Medicare, except for those who are still working. And, you know, a lot of our residents as well, we have a big population of military employees. So, and that's also federal government. We have TRICARE, we take that. And of course, we have residents who also has secondary insurances, private insurances, like Kaiser Permanente, that of course as of now, we don't accept at the moment.
So the 95% is kind of a round figure. It might be a little bit more, a little bit less, but in essence, as I understand what you've said, is that yes, people are under Medicare except those who are still working.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you involved in Green Spring Insurance and Medicare, Betsy?
I am the nurse case manager for Erickson Advantage, so I work for Erickson Advantage, and my job is to be there for the Erickson Advantage members to assist them with any educational information that they might need regarding a disease process or conditions, to assist them with transitions to the hospital, from the hospital to a skilled nursing facility, home with certified home health, out to outpatient rehab if necessary. Basically to answer any questions that my residents have and to be of assistance in helping to coordinate their care. So that's what my role is.
I understand. I don't have Erickson because I'm military. But I do understand from the people that I have chatted with that this Erickson program is an outstanding insurance program. Is that, I know you're going to say yes, but I would like for you to expand. What makes it so great?
Well, I've worked for a lot of different insurance companies in my lifetime, and what makes the Erickson Advantage plan so great is that it is tailored for residents of the Erickson community. And not to get too far off track of durable medical equipment, but to say that as we tailor it to the needs of our residents, we can include benefits such as transportation to off-site physicians' offices if you have appointments, and things like waiving the 3-day required Medicare 3-day hospital stay before you're transitioning to a skilled nursing facility like Garden Ridge. So it's tailored to our members, and we like to think that another benefit is to have a resource available if you have questions or concerns that perhaps occur to you after your doctor's appointments, and also to follow up on your bills for you so you don't have to hang on the phone and find out what the issues are. So we have a membership service representative that'll help you do that.
Since we do have people here who are watching, may not know where you are located, brush us up on where is your office?
I am located directly across the hall from the medical center.
Are you over in Town Center
I'm
area?
in Town Center, directly across the hall from the
first
medical
floor.
center.
Okay.
Yep. Next to dining services, 2 doors down from the beauty shop.
And Nikki, how do you blend into all of this very important subject? You're in the rehab. Okay.
I'm the assistant rehab manager, so I help to oversee the inpatient and the outpatient rehab departments along with Karen Hall, who is the manager. And we help the residents to obtain, along with their therapists, the most appropriate durable medical equipment that they need for either going home from Garden Ridge as safe as possible, or if they're coming to outpatient, getting the equipment that they need to be safe in their independent living apartments. And that requires there's a little bit of a difference between when you're in Garden Ridge versus when you're an outpatient.
Yeah.
So if any durable medical equipment, that's equipment that is required to be able to move about your environment in your apartment specifically, safely and appropriately. And without that equipment, Medicare looks at it that if you cannot get out of your apartment without that equipment, they will typically cover the cost of that equipment, but it must be utilized within the apartment to make you safe and mobile. So rehab looks at what you need. So in order to determine the best equipment that you need, the first thing you have to have is a referral from your physician. So we look to Jeanette for the medical center to send us referrals for residents to the outpatient department if they're living in their independent living apartment. If you are in Garden Ridge, typically you automatically come for therapy for the most part.
Sure.
You're coming from the hospital and you've had some kind of injury or incident that lands you in Garden Ridge. The purpose of that is to get you as functional as possible, so hopefully you will return to your independent living apartment. And the therapist there will determine what is needed. So once we have that initial referral, either in outpatient or in inpatient, the physical therapist or the occupational therapist will decide, along with your input, what is the most beneficial piece of equipment that you may need. As far as physical therapy, they look mainly at your mobility level, your ability to get around your apartment, get in and out of your bed, transition from different surfaces such as the couch, and to be able to walk around your apartment. So they'll look at those types of devices, walking devices, in general. Occupational therapy, they will look at things such as your activities of daily living. So can you dress on your own, bathe on your own, toilet on your own, and what type of equipment may you need to be able to do those activities as independent as possible. And so there is different equipment that is covered by Medicare and that is not covered by Medicare. Typical durable medical equipment that is covered by Medicare, you are looking at canes, walkers, bath benches, 3-in-1 commodes. Those are the most typical. Hospital beds. And then for a lot of equipment Medicare does not cover, such as bath benches. Did I say that? Yeah, bath benches. And then just toilet seat elevators. They raise the toilet up, just the commode, so it's a little bit higher.
That's not covered.
That is not covered. Grab bars for your bathroom, those are not covered.
I thought that would be.
Yeah.
Now, if I can interrupt for just 1 second.
You're not interrupting.
All right. Well, I want to make sure that all of our residents, because this is a really confusing topic, and Medicare's rules and guidelines and regulations change regularly. And one thing that I want to mention is that anybody that lives at Green Spring or anybody anywhere can have whatever durable medical equipment that they would like. If you would like to have a wheelchair to keep at your home, you can certainly go out and buy a wheelchair on your own, and you don't need your prescription and you don't need anything. The only time you need to go through the process that Nikki and that we're here to talk to you about today is if you want Medicare to pay for it. If you want a hospital bed, you can go out and buy a hospital bed. You can go out and rent a hospital bed. You can rent a power wheelchair. You can get a rollator. You can get a cane. You can get whatever you want. But if you want Medicare and your insurance coverage to reimburse you for that, then there's a process that you must follow.
Jeanette, the way I see this whole subject, I think everything starts with you and the medical center. When I say you, I'm including the doctors, whatever. Because if I am ill in such a condition that I need some of these things, I would obviously start off with you or your doctors. Is that correct?
That's correct. So first,
then what I'm thinking, excuse me, but what I'm thinking is you three ladies work very closely together.
that's
From
true.
that, you take it from there.
Okay, so first thing you do is you make an appointment to see your primary care physician. During your appointment, your doctor will evaluate you and assess you for whatever type of equipment you need. After that, he writes an order for that particular equipment, and then if it's necessary, he will then refer you to outpatient, to Nikki, to, for an evaluation for physical therapy or whatever evaluation or assessment that they'll do for you. And after that, we will then compile all the documentations from the medical center and from outpatient rehab, and then we will send it to the company where we would buy the equipment from.
And Medicare does require that Jeanette's documentation, the documentation of the physicians, needs to be quite extensive. Right. So if it requires a Medicare certificate of medical necessity, the doctors have to complete that. If it requires having part of their Medicare guidelines is a face-to-face evaluation with a physician, then the doctors have a list of questions that they need to talk to you about and document it. And then all of that documentation is the documentation that Jeanette refers to when she says she gathers that up along with the evaluations that have been done in physical therapy. And that is sent off to a participating provider. And maybe, Nikki, maybe you could address a little bit the participating providers.
Well, there are particular equipment companies that there's several out there. And we don't necessarily utilize one over the other, but they must, in order for Medicare to cover the cost of your equipment, it must be a certified Medicare provider that Medicare actually recognizes.
So Medicare has an umbrella. You better be under that umbrella.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And then you have to get all that information
Right.
we were talking about and send it over to that provider that is under the Medicare umbrella. And then if all of those conditions are met, then Medicare will consider
Paying for
paying
it.
for it.
And I
That's
would
right.
like to add that it doesn't happen overnight. It could take months
It
for the
does
whole
take months?
process.
Really?
Especially for, I would say months is usually the power wheelchairs.
Right.
The rest of the equipment can usually be week.
A couple
Right.
of weeks.
Yeah,
right.
week.
And typically, if it's, if you're leaving from Garden Ridge, they need a 2-day advance notice to get that equipment before you go home. In outpatient, it's the same thing. That it's a couple days once you order the equipment, depending on which company. But in general, they're pretty good about delivering equipment within 2 to 3 days if it's not backlogged.
But to Jeanette's point, it may take a while to get your appointment with your physician, to get your appointment and to get your evaluation in outpatient rehab, for that information to be collected and then finally sent over to that provider. So after that's done, then it may be a week or 10 days before the actual equipment is delivered to you.
So you're saying that the gears of the government moves ever so slowly.
Yes, and it's funny because the Medicare if you got Medicare covered durable medical equipment last year, the truck would have pulled up in front of your clubhouse, and they would have delivered the durable medical equipment to your apartment. Now they may send you your rollator or your walker or your 3-in-1 commode chair through UPS or the United States Mail. So even the delivery of that equipment and how it gets to you has changed. Yeah.
I have an off-the-wall question that probably will bring a smile. Let's say I have an electric vehicle, and as my age increases, my feelings, my illness increases also to such an extent that the electric vehicle that I bought for my own use now becomes a necessity. In the eyes of Medicare, this man has to have a wheeled vehicle. Would they pay me for that I bought maybe 5 years ago?
First of all, this is the power vehicles are the most challenging durable medical equipment and most challenging to get coverage by Medicare, because Medicare's rules and guidelines say that you must need that power vehicle to get from your sofa to your bathroom or from your bedroom to your kitchen within your own apartment. So if you're looking for a power vehicle to go distances like to the dining room or to the medical center, then it's not going to be covered by Medicare. It would not meet Medicare criteria, never.
As of today.
Right, and that's a big change in for this community, because I know a lot of people have their originally purchased or got their power vehicles from the treasure chest, and all of that has been revised as Medicare's guidelines are revised, because you can't, Medicare isn't going to cover that unless you need that power chair in your home. And it's not going to cover the repair of that power chair unless they have purchased it. So if you bought a power chair in the treasure chest and now your battery's dead, or if you bought it from Craigslist or from an outside provider, the battery's dead or the chair's not working, Medicare is not going to pay for the repair of that chair either unless they did the actual purchase. And they aren't really purchasing them now, they're renting them for you. So it's a kind of a rent-to-own sort of program, generally speaking. So you'd need to check with your own insurance provider to see if you have a secondary insurance, to see how they cover that. But generally speaking, the power chairs are the source of much work and aggravation for us, and aggravation for our residents, and frustration, because what used to be covered is no longer.
Well, here we go back to Jeanette. If we're going to rent, we have to have a doctor's approval. It's got to filter through your office to the doctor. He fills it out, whatever have you, based upon his knowledge of my requirements.
That's true.
And then he's going to send you, and then the doctor's going to send you to Nikki, so that Nikki's therapist can verify what you are able to do and what you're not able to do.
Right.
Once again, you're proving to me the closeness that you three have to work.
Right.
Absolutely.
On
and that's
patients.
one of the most frustrating things, I think, for us as well as residents, because we may get all of our necessary paperwork done timely. They get to see the physician, he fills out his paperwork, sends them to therapy, we get them into therapy and get the evaluation done, and we compile all that information and we send it to the medical supply company. Well, sometimes, even when that's done within 2 weeks, it could be another 4 to 6 weeks or longer before you actually obtain that power chair or that scooter. So it is an extremely timely process, and people cannot expect that the doctor is going to order it and we're going to get it 2 days later. That's not going to happen. No.
And you have to recognize that you must meet that Medicare criteria. That's the most difficult part, because most people are looking for a power vehicle to go distances, not to use necessarily in their apartment. And so you think that's going to be approved, and it may not be.
I must submit that I use a power chair. I use it because if I walk a long distance, I'm out of breath.
Right.
And I know that Medicare will not pay for that. And this is what I was getting at before, that I have purchased this and I use it to go between my apartment or wherever. But I was thinking to myself, okay, Bob, if one of these days it becomes so drastic that I can't move anywheres, would Medicare say, okay, you have one and we'll pay you? No, it's not that easy.
No, they won't. They won't pay for the
reimburse.
repairs for the one that you have, and they won't reimburse you for that. But if you were not able to, if you needed that power chair to navigate your own apartment, then they would probably get you a new one. And you can rent. You can go to those Medicare, the durable medical equipment providers, and you can rent a power chair. And you could, and I think is it like $300 to $350 a month? I think to rent a power chair.
How much a month?
And don't quote me. I'm not the durable medical equipment provider, but I think Jim, from Roberts Home Medical, indicated that it was between $300 and $350 a month. So, I would suggest you look at people, people who are selling them.
But I also have to caution, too, about people just utilizing power chairs and scooters because it's convenient. Because the less you do physically, the less you'll be able to do over time. So if you choose to use a power vehicle, I would suggest that you maybe use it every other day to go to the dining room, and then on opposite days, try and walk there. Take an additional time. For example, for you, if you know that you get out of wind on your way to the dining room, give yourself an additional 15 minutes to walk there so that you can walk part of the way, sit on one of the benches, catch your breath, rest, and then walk the rest of the way. Because we know as we age, things do get harder. But it's even more important for you to keep up your physical activity and not rely on power chairs and scooters to get you where you need to go if it's not necessary. Absolutely.
Which is why Medicare changed the guidelines and the recommendations.
Early on, I asked Jeanette where her office was, and I know where your office is, and you're over in Garden Ridge on a specific floor?
The inpatient rehab at Garden Ridge is on the second level.
Second level.
The outpatient rehab department is in Hunter's Crossing on the terrace level across from the conference center.
Another question that enters my mind, are there any Medicare horror stories that have evolved or erupted here at Green Spring that could serve as an example of what a resident should not do?
I think as that relates to durable medical equipment in particular, I think it is the expectation that Medicare is going to cover the durable medical equipment. I think that creates the biggest issues for most of us. Is if you have an expectation that you need durable medical equipment, Medicare is just going to cover that for you. I would say that is an unrealistic expectation. Your durable medical equipment is only going to be covered if you meet the Medicare criteria. You can get durable medical equipment anytime you want it. Call up Roberts Home Medical or Lincare or Apria. Call them up, tell them you would like it. They'll deliver it to you and you can pay for it and you can have it in 24 hours. But if you're looking to have your durable medical equipment covered by Medicare, then it's a different story. Absolutely. And there's a process and it takes time.
I think I know the answer already, but you do have the names and addresses and phone numbers of all these outfits that would sell you a. Do you have one?
We have a list at the medical center.
So we could call you.
Definitely.
And of course, obviously, the three of you ladies are in the directory, phone directory. But just in case, what is your phone number?
We do have a list. Our phone number is 703-923-4644.
4644.
And you can always go on the Medicare website, medicare.gov.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
And it'll list all of the Medicare approved providers, durable medical equipment providers in your area.
And I think there are some particular providers that we utilize more regularly because of their consistency with delivery and their responsiveness. So, you know, Betsy had mentioned Roberts Home Medical. We also use Spectrum Medical. But there are several others.
And Lincare and Capria's. And, you know,
and the only
There's
other
a listing
thing
on the screen right now.
Yeah,
How about
the only
that?
other thing that I do caution are those residents that have Kaiser as secondary insurance. They must go through their Kaiser representative to obtain all of their
Let's repeat that, Nikki, just in case people do have Kaiser and maybe they missed it. What did you just say?
Anyone that has Kaiser, either primary, because some people may have it as primary, or secondary, must go through their Kaiser representative in order to obtain their equipment. They have their own providers that they have determined that they will utilize to obtain their equipment.
And it probably is a good idea to footnote that everybody should check with their insurance provider.
I think you are right.
So if you have a secondary insurance provider, check with them. If you have Erickson Advantage, you can come and see me. But you definitely want to check with your secondary insurance provider. Medicare generally covers durable medical equipment at 80%, so you'll be responsible for 20%. Whether or not your secondary insurance is going to pick that up, you'll certainly want to check that out with them.
I haven't mentioned this at all, but I'm going to mention it now. Would TRICARE cover any of this that we're talking about?
That question you might want to call TRICARE Insurance and then ask that
As
question.
to how much they cover.
Just to
TRICARE
be
is
sure.
usually a pretty good product, so I would guess that probably, I don't know for certain because it's not my product, but I would guess that at the very least your durable medical equipment would be covered at least at the Medicare rate, would be my guess.
Yeah, typically I've found that TRICARE will follow Medicare guidelines if you have Medicare as your primary. So if Medicare falls short, then typically TRICARE will say,
pick up.
well, it depends, but oftentimes, at least for therapy services, if Medicare stops, then TRICARE will cover those services, but for durable medical equipment, that's a different issue.
Ladies, we're down to the last minute of this program, which to me has been most interesting, thanks to the three of you. You have really imparted some pertinent information. And now we have a promo that I'd like to have run, if you would please. This will go for 2 minutes.
Okay.
And then I'm going to read some announcements.
Well, Wayne and I love to support the Benevolent Care Fund. We've been here 7 years now, and we have participated in this program from the very beginning.
I feel that's really important because it's a way to be involved in the community and at the heart of the community of helping other residents.
I sort of like to share with my neighbors who have greater need than I do, and it's kind of a privilege to be a part of Green Spring that is sharing with our neighbors.
To give something back makes you feel pretty good. Plus, we never know where we're going to go one of these days. It may be that we're going to be a recipient, and I'd hope that other people would do that for me. But we give, and we give heartily. We don't give to get something back. We give because we want to, and we know we're helping somebody along the way.
And one day, it could be me.
It could be me.
It could be me. It could be us.
The BCF is a very important endeavor. Please give. And now I do have some announcements that I would like to pass on. Special programming, Green Spring Fellowship, today 5 and 9 p.m. Wednesday, A Village in Motion. We continue our tele celebration and the ELS. Feature programming coming up, Steve Gubeck's Travelogue. That'll be today at 2 and 8 p.m. And now we have the brain tease, and I'm going to ask Betsy to please read the brain tease and the answer.
Okay, the brain tease is rearrange the letters in the words new door to make one word. And the answer you've been waiting for is new door can be arranged into one word.
Thank you, Betsy.
Certainly.
And now, on Wednesday, September 9th, this is Bob Zarkowitz for Betsy, Nikki, and Jeanette, bidding you good night or goodbye, and have a great, great day.